Okay, let's get started. So, no worries. So, I work for Cisco Talos, and I'm here to talk to you about how can we do dynamic analysis on Android. So, first of all, how did we get here? So, I was having a chat with a good friend about how does Google actually does their anti-malware solution. And at the time, I found out that they were actually splitting the Google Play Protect services from the whole framework of the Google Play Protect. So I thought, well, maybe this is a good time to do reverse analysis and understand how they do it, how do they protect stuff. So the issue is when we start to look at system applications on Android, it's not as simple as one might think. Of course, we can always extract the code and look into it, but if you want to do dynamic analysis, there are a huge number of constraints that prevent you from doing that kind of analysis. So, just for some background, on Android you have two different kinds of applications. You have the system applications, which are also called vendor or product ones, who are installed on the operating system by vendors, Google, ISPs, and those you cannot uninstall them. They will be always there, and they start with the operation system itself, and usually they don't have a UI. And that makes it hard for you to debug them because you can't even get to the point where you can actually launch them when you want. So I found out that there were a lot of constraints there. So the point was, okay, I need to find a way to do the analysis because I've reversed the code and you can only do so much with static analysis, of course. So I thought, okay, I want to do dynamic analysis. The logical way for me at the time was I will do some instrumentation, use Frida, because I like Frida a lot, so Frida would be the tool for me, both to do analysis, but also to set up something that would allow me to do some fuzzing if I wanted. So I had the two options there, which really worked for me. On the other side, I didn't want to go to the point where I would just load the customer firmware. So I didn't want to go with custom OS because I wanted to stick as much as possible with the original OS. And if you are thinking, okay, but you probably need to root the device to use Frida. Well, that is true, but even if you root an image which is a stock image, you are still limited. A good example is you can get root on a Samsung, but you won't be able to root ADB, you won't be able to run the ADB, the Android Debug Bridge, as root, because it's still a stock image. The same thing, for instance, for SE privileges, on Samsung, you won't be able to change that to permissive because the setting is embedded in the kernel. So there are still a lot of stuff that even if you have root, you cannot do, and I wanted as much as possible to keep that environment. So, okay, I had a challenge. I looked at Google Play Protect services. Well, it's not obfuscated. It uses ProGuard, which kind of makes it a little bit harder, but it's not code highly obfuscated. It doesn't have any kind of anti-analysis techniques. There are lots of interesting native code in the version that is being splitted from the Google services. For instance, it's using a lot of machine learning and AI that doesn't exist at all on the Samsung images, for instance. If you look at Pixel, you see a lot of Tartarus and a lot of references to the Greek mythology. I don't know why, but there are a lot of native code in the Pixel version that doesn't exist on any of the other versions like Samsung or other brands. So there is something different there that was worth taking care of and looking into. So, and this is basically how my project started. I wanted to look at Google Play Protect services, but then, well, just to get to that point, I had a lot of work to do before that. So first I thought, okay, let's do the direct approach. I will just pick up on Frida, launch the application, and get it to start instrumenting. Well, didn't work. Why? I don't have a main tag on Google Play Protect, which means that I cannot launch it with Frida. It doesn't work. You need to have the main tag on the manifest from the Android applications in order to be able to launch it interactively. Okay, so I thought, well, why can't I just do it myself? It's kids play. I go to the manifest and I write the main tag there and I launch it again. It will be easy. I can just do that. It will work. Well, turns out that Google doesn't share their private key. I don't know why. They don't want to share the private key, and they don't want to sign my code. So if I cannot sign the package that I've just changed with the same key, I cannot install it, because this is a system application. And I don't know. They don't want to share it. Maybe someone will help me understand that. So what can I do? Well, I have a problem. I cannot install the patched version I have because I don't have the private key to sign it. So, because it's pre-installed, I cannot remove it also. So it's kind of a loop. I can't get out of this. So if I try to uninstall it, it will give me an error because I can uninstall the updates, but I cannot uninstall the pre-installed version. And the signatures don't match, so I cannot update it with my own version. So I'm stuck in a loop. So my only version, just in summary, I cannot run Google Play Protect services because I don't have a main. I cannot insert the Frida gadget because I don't have the private key to re-sign my package. I cannot uninstall it because it's pre-installed. And so, in summary, I'm kind of stuck at this point. I'm in a hole that I cannot get out of. My only option is to find a way to uninstall the pre-installed version. If I can do that, I can probably solve my problem. So, first step, I need to remove it. So how can I do that? So there is this tool called Magist, which is pretty common in the rooting world, which allows you to root devices. But this application also has a really nice feature, which allows you to create a fake file system. So I pretty much can remove everything I want from the file system at boot time by developing a module. So with this, what I can do is actually remove the Google Play Protect pre-installed version. By just creating this module, you can see there the package, you can see, yeah. So the package name is ODAD prebuilt, and what I need to do is create a module that will simply have a directory which has all the path where the package is stored, and I need to create a file called .replace. And when the system boots, Magix will simply replace the original directory from my own. In this case, it's empty. Or if I wanted, I could put my own package with my own signature there. And with this, I bypass the question of can I install my package or not with the signature. So this was what I had. Then, next step, I still don't have a main. And the problem here is I can put a main in there, but I want the application to run as a system at boot to have all the properties. So I don't really want to start it from my own system. So what I did was, instead of starting it from scratch, I injected the Frida gadget, which is a library that can be loaded into the applications that will give the same features as Frida, but limited to that specific application. So in order to do that, I needed to find a place to tell Frida to load the native code library. So in this case, what I did was I added this piece of code to the Smalley after decompiling it. And on one side, I'm loading the gadget. As you can see, you have the system load. And just to have some feedback to make sure that my code was running, I also added a simple print line for good old debugging print line. So when I see this on the logcat, I would know that at least my code has run and I'm here, because I could have problems with Frida. There was a lot of things involved, so I wanted to have some good feedback. So then the next step for Frida is that you need to put in your gadget in the library path so that it can be packaged with the whole package. So you need to do the lib gadget.so, and the lib gadget.config.so, which is the configuration for the Frida gadget. I'm not going through all the details of how to do it with Frida. There's plenty of documentation, but just to give you an idea. As you can see, there's also there the lib Tartarus, the lib task text GNI, all the new stuff that is on the Google Play Protect services package, which is taken out of the Play Protect. So with the configuration, I just put a simple configuration which, when the gadget is loaded, it would execute the JavaScript that is located inside the system, and if that JavaScript changes, it would reload it. So at this point, I have the code patched, I have the package removed, so I could install it. Of course, when I try to install it, the first thing is that if I haven't removed it, it will give me that is incompatible because the signatures don't match. So when I actually boot it with Magix, I can actually install it without any problems because right now there is no pre-installed package. So my is the first one with my own signature. So when I run it, at this point I'm just looking for, I have a video. At this point I'm just looking for the log messages to show me that actually I'm running the code. Can you see it? Oh, yeah, so there it is. So first it tells you that you are changing the file system, and then it gives me the two messages. So the have fun is the one that is put in by Frida. The other one was just my printout to make sure that everything is working. So at this point, I'm pretty much in a position where I can do the dynamic analysis on this application. So now the point becomes, you can do the analysis, but where is the right place for you to load the gadget? Because the problem here is that this is a system application. It doesn't have interaction. So you need to be sure that it will run when you want it to run. And the problem is, I patched the code on the method that would receive the on-boot completed action, which is pretty much an event that is sent to all applications when the device is booted. The problem with this is that if you look at this code, what this function does, it was not the good one, because this is just a scheduler. So if you look at these three functions, what this is doing is that it's pretty much scheduling a job to run in 1 day time, in several days time, and this doesn't work for me because I want to do the dynamic analysis now, not in 1 day time. On the other point, because you are doing the injection of the gadget is injected on this process. What this means is that the workers are going to run on a different process in a 1 day time. So in that process won't have the gadget injected because it's a completely different process. So when we are doing this kind of injection, we need to be careful where we do the injection of the gadget so that we are absolutely sure that it will be loaded when the process is running. Because this is a system application, and with that, the tasks may run on different processes. So, and then there's this other feature, which is the shared IDs. So on Android, there are some applications that can run with the same IDs. So if you look in this case, this is not Google, it's not the case of Google Play Protect services, but there is another application which actually share the IDs. And in this case, all the applications need to have the same signatures. So I change it for one, but then it won't install because the other applications which have the same kind of shared ID, they will not have the same signature. Well, as you can imagine, the way to go around that is pretty much take them all out and replace all them with your signatures. So, and at this point I should say that it doesn't really matter what signature you use, because there's no check. The Android will never check if the application from Google is actually signed by the certificate from Google. At this point, that doesn't exist, and that's why I can sign it with my own signature and load it, and it will run fine. As long as it's signed and there is a consistency between the applications and between the versions, you can always do that. And then, well, at this point, I was ready to have some fun and do some fuzzing and all of that. But then time ran out, and I had to do my submissions and everything, so I didn't get to the point where I was actually going to analyze Google Play Protect dynamically. But I did some tests, but I didn't get to that point. And this talk is more about how you can do it with the system applications rather than Google Play Protect. So as a future service, I need to do the actual fuzzing and Google and analysis on the Google Play Protect services. There's also one thing that Magic allows you, which is injecting some code on all processes from Android. That's still a little, it's not 100% working, but it might be a good solution so that instead of being worried about having the patch the right place, it will be always injected. But still, if you need to wait one day to have your code running or to do the analysis, it's kind of, it's not that useful, but it's still something that you can do. Yeah, and that's it. I will do a workshop with this so that you can run everything, all the details, if you want to do it yourself, hands-on. I still don't know when it will be, but we'll figure it out. And I'm open for questions.
Hi. Yeah, I was wondering if you had tried just having Frida attached to the Google Play Protect process instead of having to just launch it with Frida?
So the issue is that the Google Play Protect's services, they will run on different processes according to the scheduler. They have three different tasks, main tasks, and those will run on different scheduling, which means that they will run on different processes. So I can't control that. That's why we need to carefully choose where we are going to inject the gadget. In this case, the approach will be is I can either change the scheduling so that it runs more often, so that I can do it more often, and inject the gadget inside the class that is run by the worker. And that way, every time it runs, it doesn't matter when it runs, it will be injected. But still, if it only runs, and from the analysis that I've already done, it will run once a day, but then the schedule changes for once every 15 days, depending on the application, so it can span for a long time, so I need to control that.
Hey, I have a question. I'm not an Android expert, but I was wondering, why not to enabling the developer mode and attaching ADB through the USB?
So even if I want to do that, because the manifest for the application says it's not debuggable, I will always need to change the manifest and sign it and go through all the process. So that's just a choice I wanted to do with Frida. If I want, I can do it also like we were saying, but I still need to go through all the process so that I can install it with my own certificate, because it has no debugging on the manifest.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. No other questions. Thank you.